Hi there, Chris here with RainbowGuysDIY. Today we are in Lance's Lego gallery and we're going to be installing some new lights. Not sure how well it's going to show up on camera, but right now it's fairly dim in here. There is a center ceiling fan with a single light bulb and that's it for the room. So we are going to be installing 4 of these LED recessed lights. I have these in our living room, kitchen, and my sewing room and absolutely love them. So we'll be installing 4 of those in the corners. And then we will be replacing the ceiling fan with this center, it's 4 spotlights that we can then direct onto the different shelves along here with all of his Lego sets. While we're in here, we're also going to be installing a smart switch so that we can control it with our Alexa. If you'd like to see more about installing the smart switch specifically, I have another video that I will put a link to in the description below. So to get started, the first thing we need to do is cut the holes for the recessed lights because they don't already exist. So in the box here with the recessed lights, and I'll leave a link to these down below. I just found them on Amazon and I have had very good luck with them so far. They are an all-inclusive kit, I guess. There's no light bulbs, so there's nothing to burn out and replace. These are guaranteed for, I think it was 36,000 hours. Yeah, lifespan is 36,000 hours, so it's going to be a while before they need any kind of replacing. So in the box it comes with a template, and this is the size of hole that we need to cut in the ceiling. One advantage to these specific lights, you can see that's what they look like. They're very thin. Actually, let me pull one out. They are basically just the thickness of your drywall. Very thin. This is the actual light. So one issue I ran into in the living room is one of the placements of the lights happened to be directly on a joist. And it wasn't a big deal. I just had the joist running straight in the middle. The clamps here are what hold it up onto the drywall. And it was fine. So you have a lot less limitations than you would if you were installing a traditional can light. They're big and bulky up in the ceiling, so you have to make sure it's close to a rafter so you can mount it, but not directly on a rafter. These are just much easier to work with. So where did I put it? We have our template. Now what you could do is just find out where on the ceiling you want it, tape this up, trace it, and then use a jab saw to cut it. But I'm going to be using this handy gadget, which is a drywall hole saw that I found at Home Depot. I think it was like $20 about, and I've used it quite a bit. Absolutely worth it if you're going to be installing any number of these. So they're 6-inch lights, which the actual light is 6 inches. The hole you are going to cut is slightly larger. I think it says it in the instructions. Saw it somewhere. Oh, nope. There we go. It is 6.8 inches to the outside. Let's just measure this and see how big the circle is. It is 2 3/16. So it's 6 3/16. And it does not have to be perfect. So I'm going to go actually for, I think 6 1/4. See if that will work. To the outside of the blades. Yes. Okay. So we have that adjusted. So we'll install this into our drill and we're ready to go. All right, so we're going to install these first, and that's going to require cutting the holes and then running some wire, and I'm going to run it from the center light because that's what the switch is already connected to. So I'll run it from the center to one of the corners, to the next, to the next, to the next. This will require me going up in the attic because we have joists that we have to contend with. I won't be drilling through them, I will just be going over them. We have an unfinished attic, so it's not a big deal. If you were dealing with a second story or a finished attic, something with a floor above you, you would probably end up having to cut where each joist is so you can drill a hole and run the wire through it. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that in this house, but that is something you might need to contend with. Running them individually or in between them this way, because this is the direction the joists run, is super easy. You just put the wire up one and down the next. After we get those in and we're ready to connect them to the live power, then I'll need to shut off the power. We'll remove the ceiling fan, install this, and splice everything together. So I will just kind of take you step by step. All right, for this room, it's not very large, but I have decided I'm going to be putting the lights 30 inches in from each wall. So 30 inches from here, 30 inches from here. It's going to be about right here. What I'm going to do is just take my measuring tape, and right here at the 30, I'm going to put a piece of tape. That way I don't mess up my ceiling too much. And then from here, I will actually measure out 30 inches. Make my mark. And then from here, 30 inches is right on the edge. And that is where the drill bit will need to go in. All right. Don't think you can see me, but I'm putting on my safety glasses and my mask because it is gonna get a little dusty. Okay, so we just take the drill bit, mark it or line it up with the marks, and drill. So it catches everything for you. Nice, perfect circle. All right, so one is done. I will move on and do the other three. All right, I just wanted to show you right here is what I was talking about happened in the living room. That is the joist, and it's right where our light is gonna go. But what I will do is just have the clips come here, and then it won't be a big deal at all. All right, before I actually crawl up in the attic, I am going to cut the lengths of wire that will run between these two holes, this hole and that one in the corner, and then that one over there, and then from there to the center junction box. That way I'm not up in the attic any longer than I need to be. So today am just using standard indoor electrical wire. This is 14 gauge 2 wire. Now it says 2 wire, but there are 3 wires in here. It's 2 wires because those are the wires that actually carry the electricity. You have your hot wire and your neutral plus a ground. So 14.2 is really the 3 wires because of the ground. A 14.3 is 4 wires because of the ground. It'll have a black, red, and white. For our purposes, we're just using this today. Now the easiest way to handle these rolls of wire, I already have one opened, is actually just to punch a hole in the center of it and pull the wire from the coil from the center. That way you are not battling with a roll going all over the place. So I'm just going to pull out quite a bit here. I do have quite a bit of area to cover. Get it cut, and then I will feed it up through one hole, and then go in the attic, grab it, and feed it down the next hole. All right, so we are just gonna kind of guesstimate the length. I will hold it up here, and you want extra. You would rather have too much wire than not enough wire. It gives you enough to work with, play around with, and if you accidentally mess something up, you're not short on wire. So this one is cut. I'm going to feed it up through this hole. So a good length so I can actually find it when I get up there. And I'll just kind of bend it in place to hold it. Okay, let's see if there's enough left in here. When you are doing wiring, you need to have a complete length between your two points. You can't have a splice. Like if I had two shorter lengths of wire, I couldn't just splice them in the middle and feed it through. There would have to be a junction box up in the attic to hold that splice to keep in compliance with code. That's long enough to go between these two, so I'm just going to fish it up here. I am going to fish it on the little side of the joist just to hold it in place. When I'm up in the attic though, I will pull it so that it comes down on the big side, because that's where the actual box is going to be. So off camera, I'm going to cut the other wire to go between the two lights on that side of the wall, and then from the center junction box to the one in the corner there. So I'm going to do that real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're up here in the attic. I have my first wire here. This is the one right by the door. So we have one here, one that's going to be over there, one way back there, one way over there. So I don't think I'm going to be able to film all of it up here because I don't have a really good way to do that. But I'll show you. It's somewhat nice to be able to spot the holes, because you can see, oh, maybe you can't on camera, but you can see a little bit of light coming up from the room. So that helps me find where I'm aiming for. So I'm going to go ahead and fish these through. This wire goes to the center. The one back there will feed over here. The one in that corner feeds here. And the one over there feeds over there. See all our Christmas decorations? This probably would have been easier to do while they were not in the attic. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all to their proper destinations, and I will meet you back downstairs. All right, now that everything is wired, I'm going to get the junction boxes ready just to save time while I'm standing up getting everything wired. It's easier just to do it while sitting. So I'm going to take out all of the lights, and then underneath them in the box are all of the junction boxes. Okay. So you just open it up. Inside there's the wires. You have your live, neutral, ground. It's also got the wire nuts for you. And then on the sides, both sides, there's this little punch out. So it's just a little metal disc that you'll remove. We're going to remove it on one side of each of these. And that's where the wires will come in to then get wired up. This is just a raw edge, so over time it could potentially wear a hole in the wire, and that would be a very bad thing. So we need to install some of these wire clamp connectors. So we're going to install one of these on each junction box. So you just put it in, then it's a little nut. There are different styles of these as well. Some of them you just press in, so you don't even have to worry about the nut. So the wire will come into this area through the clamp, and then you will screw down these two screws to keep it in place so that it won't wiggle and cause an issue down the road. So I'm going to do that on 4 of the junction boxes as we get ready to put them in the ceiling. This is the part I just figure it is easier to do this while I'm sitting than trying to do it while dangling up in the air. So there's one. Alright, those are prepared. So now I will move the camera up to one of the areas for the wires and show you the next step. Alright, so I'm going to start over here in this corner. I'm tall enough, luckily, that I could just reach them. But if you have taller ceilings than I do, then you'll probably need to get a stepladder of some sort. So before I strip the ends, I am going to feed them in and clamp them down into one of the junction boxes I have prepared. Okay. And then, yes, you can still see that. Just clamp this down so they can't slide out. You don't want to clamp it down so much that it, jeopardizes the integrity of the sheathing or cuts through it, but you do want it snug. There we go. And actually, for ease, I am going to go get a stepladder. So one moment. So we have our 2 sets of wires. I'm going to trim them so they are even. All right, so now I just need to remove the outer sheathing from these. So you can just very gently score a line. Pull that off. Goodness. You want to be very careful when you're scoring it, because you don't want to cut into the plastic sheathing of the individual wires, the black and the white. Just on the one side. Okay, so we have our wires here. Get rid of this paper. The ground wires are not covered in green plastic like they are here, but they are covered in just extra paper, so you can just rip that off. Get it out of the way. Okay, so now we have our 2 whites coming from the ceiling, our 2 blacks coming from the ceiling, and our 2 copper ground wires coming from the ceiling. So I'm going to strip these, probably like 3/4 of an inch. I think on the next one I might actually do this piece first, and we'll see if it makes it easier to fish it through the clamp, or if it makes it harder to fish it through the clamp. All right, now to connect everything, it's fairly simple. All of your blacks will go together, all of your whites will go together, and your 2 bare copper will go onto the green ground wire. So we're going to get everything lined up, and then you want to take a pair of pliers. These are some lineman pliers. They're kind of blunt. Get those lined up. Actually, I'll do the 2 coppers first. And just twist them together clockwise. Then we can twist on the, trim those real quick so they're even. Now the wire in the fixture, get the right one here, is very pliable just with your hand, so you don't need the pliers to get it twisted together. But hold all 3 wires so that they are even, and use your wire nut to connect them. Once the wire nut is fully tightened, you want to make sure that there is no exposed copper on the back side. All right. Next, we'll do the same thing with the neutral or the white wires. I also like to give a tug on the wires just to make sure they're nice and secure, make sure there's no exposed copper. And then finally, we will do the same on the ground wire. Now, obviously you will have some exposed copper here because the ground wires in the wall are just exposed copper, but we do want to make sure that there is still a very good connection between them. So we'll just twist those together. Let's tuck all of these into the junction box as neatly as possible. and close it up. And it just snaps shut. And there we go. Now, one thing I love about these lights is that this junction box can just tuck up into the cavity. I mean, it's in my attic, but if you had a floor above it, it would just be the cavity between the joists. It doesn't need to be mounted to anything. It does have little brackets on it if you do want to mount it, but it's lightweight and it won't cause any sagging in your drywall or anything like that. So I feel it's a really good choice for remodels or old work, as they put it. So then we can just take the light, stick it in, and you twist it to lock it in place. We'll put that up in the attic. And then you take the two, in this case blue, clamps on either side, push them in. I should take this little piece of tape off. And then push it up to the ceiling, and that's it. So this light is ready. I have 3 more to go, and then the center light, and then we'll test them. All right, the puck lights have been placed, so now I need to remove the ceiling fan, and we will be installing this new light fixture. So it's 4 little LED spotlights. The bulbs are the style of, I forget the actual number of the bulb style, but it's the ones you'll see that are halogen typically. So they're the GU10 style bulbs. Typically these are halogen. It's got the 2 little prongs on the bottom, but these are actually LED. So they'll use a lot less energy. They won't get as hot, and they are also a cool white, which we have been doing throughout the house whenever we replace light bulbs. So that will be going in the place of this. So we'll start by taking this down. Usually with ceiling fans, there's a couple screws right near the ceiling. Sometimes there will be a cover ring for them. There are 2 on that side. So one of the screws holds it still. One of them holds it up. So if you take the 2 out that are just holding it still, then you should be able to twist the whole thing. All right, so I got those screws out. Let's see, I need to loosen this one, but not remove it all the way. Same is true with this. All right, so that will take this ring down. Maybe, there we go. All right, what's holding this up? Okay. First, we apparently need to take the blades off. So let's take care of that. We're just gonna disassemble this whole thing. All right, blades are off, so now we can remove this. Undo this screw. I did not install this ceiling fan, and I find that I've seen all different kinds of ways ceiling fans get mounted. So you never know what you're going to find. That's interesting. All right, now we're going to remove the mounting screws that actually mount it to the junction box in the ceiling. Let me see if this comes out at all. There we go. Okay, so I just confirmed at the switch, this red wire is our live wire. The black wires are just all together, so they are live but not controlled by the switch. So these are live 100% of the time. They actually feed off to the bedroom next door and to the outlet on the wall. So we're going to leave those alone. However, right now they are just wrapped in tape. So I'm going to take the tape off, properly strip them, twist them together, and put a proper wire nut on them. And then this is our neutral, which does have a piggy tail coming off, but again, it is just wrapped in tape. So I'm going to fix that. And then I will add in our new wires to power the recessed lights. All right, so for the white wires, we have 3 existing. And then we need to add in the new one for the LED lights. And then we also need to add in a pigtail so that we have a live wire to attach the new light fixture to. So I'm dealing with 5 14 gauge wires. That's kind of a lot. I don't normally like to have this many, but it is what it is. So for the wire nut, you want to make sure that it's rated to be able to handle this many wires. And the wire nut I have that I will be using can go up to 5 12 gauge wires. So there will be enough room in there to fit all 5 of these 14 gauge wires. Because with gauges, the higher the number, the smaller the wire. All right. So those are all twisted really well together. You want to make sure none of them are loose. They indeed all got caught. We are good. So I will trim off the end here. And now we can install the wire nut. Okay, so we have our live wire right here that will connect to the light fixture. Let me strip the neutral so that that one is ready to go. And then I'm not going to tie the grounds together and then do a piggy tail. I'll just attach them directly to the light fixture, but I am going to twist them together just so they can be in one place. Okay, we are ready for the light fixture. Okay, so this is the fixture itself. I don't think it really came with I'm holding the instructions in my hand. Now the fixture has this bar already attached to it, but we actually need to detach that because that is what we are going to screw to the junction box. And that is what will mount it in its final position. So if you loosen the screws, then it just comes out of this slot and there's the bar. So this will attach to our crossbeam, which is not straight on. So I guess we're installing this at an angle. Sometimes you'll get an adjustable crossbeam in case your junction box is only on the corners or if it's only straight in. Unfortunately, that's not what we have here. So I am just going to go ahead and install this into the mounting holes. So you want this nice and tight against the ceiling so that your fixture is nice and tight against the ceiling. So the instructions aren't fantastic, but it does look like they actually included some drywall anchors so you could drill directly into your ceiling and mount it from the drywall versus from the junction box. I prefer from the junction box, but that is an option if you wanted it straight on. So we'll see how it looks. It'll be at a 45-degree angle, so it won't be too weird. We'll see how it looks. Okay. Just like any other fixture, we will now connect our live or black together, our neutral or white together, and then the ground. This might get a little awkward. Sometimes it helps to have an extra set of hands, but I've barricaded myself in this room, so I don't think Lance can get in if he tried. Perfect. All right, so we can kind of bend these wires. There's actually a bit of a lip here, so there's enough room to hold all the wires in the fixture, which is nice. Sometimes you'll run into issues there, especially in like ceiling fans where there's lots of wires, that you just can't fit them all back into the ceiling. All right, so it is in the little channel, locked in. Secure those down. Okay. I don't think that looks too bad. All right, now we'll just install the bulbs. Now these, as I said earlier, are LED, so they won't get as warm as halogens. If you were using halogen bulbs, you actually don't want to touch the glass. What'll happen is the oils from your fingers will actually overheat the bulbs over time and they will burn out faster. So for longevity of the halogen bulbs, you want to install them like with a cloth, or I've even seen some that come with a suction cup. So you can just stick it on there, install the light bulb, pull the suction cup off without ever having your fingers touch the bulbs. And these are all fully adjustable. So we'll kind of point them in the general direction we want them to go. And once we turn the lights on, we can adjust further. All right, I am gonna go turn on the power and we're gonna give these a test. Oh, no. So now I just need to replace the light switch with a smart switch. I'm not gonna show that. If you do want instructions on that, I'll leave a link to the video below I did a little while back installing these same smart switches. Alexa, turn off the Lego gallery. Alexa, turn on the Lego gallery. Alexa, adjust Lego gallery to 50%. And there we have it. So the center light is not as cool a white as I thought it was going to be, so we will probably end up getting some new bulbs for here. Also want to get some dimmable bulbs. The light switch I installed is dimmable, so without having dimmable bulbs, it doesn't really work. Thanks for watching. See you next time. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our new videos. You can also follow us on social media at RainbowGuysDIY for even more content. See you next time.